two lines from the bottom. Good morning. With the help of Hashem, we are learning Yerushalmi Demai, Perek Zayin. We're concluding Halacha Zayin, and God willing, starting the final Mishnah of this Masechta, Halacha Hey. We're going to be learning today Daf Ayin Vav. We left off on Daf Ayin Hey Amid Beis in the beginning of the second to last line in the Amid Rabbi Bohu Amar. And let's quickly recap, even for people that missed Daf Ayin Daled, Daf Ayin Hey. Let's quickly chazer. The Mishnah gave 4 cases. In the first 3 cases of the Mishnah, when there was a mixture between different items, there was no other solution than the owner losing some because of the mixture. Just as an example, the first case of the Mishnah was when a person had a meya tevel and meya chulin. Just giving you an example, meya tevel or meya chulin, from the 100 tevel, how much will end up as trumas ma'aser? 1. From meya chulin, none. So the doubt is only, how do we identify the one as trumas ma'aser? And as we explained, you can't just take one. First of all, the one that you take might be chulin. Even if the one that you take is tevel, you never go from tevel to trumas ma'aser. It doesn't work that way. You have to first designate ma'aser rishon and then go into trumas ma'aser. So what do you need to do? To declare that 1 in the mixture is trumas ma'aser, 10 in the mixture is trumas, and 1, you can do that, but you know what would happen? Then there's nothing you can do with the whole mixture. You don't want to end up with a mixture where one of them belongs to a kohen, because then you will have to sell everything to a kohen minus 1, but he'll pay the price of truma, which is much cheaper than chulin. So, for example, the Mishnah said, I'll tell you what you do. You first break it into 2 groups. 101, 99. What's the chacham of 101? Tell you why. Because the chulin can never be trumas ma'aser, right? The tevel can become ma'aser rishon, can become trumas ma'aser. If you were to separate it back into 100 and 100, it could be very small chance that the 100 that you want to use is all the chulin. In order for you to know vadai, at least one is tevel that could become ma'aser rishon, that can become trumas ma'aser, you have to have 101. Now you accomplished a lot because the 99 is going to be chulin.
Why not 111?
You don't need 111 in the first case in the Mishnah. Whenever you needed to separate 11, you'll need a bigger number. I'm not going to go through the whole Mishnah now. I'm just giving you just an example of the first case. The first case was meya tevel, meya chulin. Meya chulin. 101, 99. And you take up 1, right? And you say that one of the group in the 99 is the first of ma'aser rishon, with another 9 wherever it is. You have to say wherever it is, because the taka could be in the group of 101. There's only 100 chulin. There's only 1 of tevel. There's only 100 chulin, only 1 of tevel. The ma'aser rishon doesn't have to be in the group of 101, the whole ma'aser rishon. But you say 1 in the group of 101, which is vadai tevel, that will be the first of ma'aser rishon. Ve'imai, another 9, wherever it is. You can do that. Now you have ma'aser rishon. Now you're saying the 1 in the group of 101 is trumas ma'aser. You do end up with a mixture of 101 that has in it 1 trumas ma'aser, which means that you'll have to sell to a kohen. The kohen will only pay for 100. He'll pay the cheaper price for the 100 because only a kohen can eat that mixture of 101. But the 99 you salvage. Now, by the way, how much do you owe the Levi? Don't say 10. Because since you're giving the trumas ma'aser to the kohen with a loss, means if the Levi would have gotten 10, the Levi would have to give 1 to the kohen. How much would the Levi end up with? 9. So you owe 9 to the Levi. And either you can take from the 99 and give 9 to the Levi because there's no kedusha there, or you can give him the value of 9. I'm just going back quickly to the first case of the Mishnah. All of the first 3 cases of the Mishnah were similar by the fact, not with the 101, different number.
My solution is to Levi.
To the Levi, but you can redeem it from the Levi.
So you took out 10 from the other half.
You didn't take out 10.
It's in theory. You're
You
taking
didn't
out,
take, but you didn't take out 10.
take it out. But
I'll tell you why you couldn't take out 10. Because when you have 101, it could be 100 as chulin and only one as tevel. You cannot make chulin into my edition. You could say that one here, the one here that's vadai tevel, will be the first of my edition with another 9 wherever they are, because I'm going to be redeeming it anyways.
So this whole concept is just to make sure we gave too much money.
Yes. And you end up with a loss. The only case in the Mishnah, that the last case that we learned, where you don't end up with a loss, is where you had 100. What was the last case of the Mishnah? You have 100 tevel. You had 90 meiser. That was a gavaldik echad. From 100 tevel, how much will end up as trumas meiser? 1. From 90 meiser, how much will end up trumas meiser? 9. Which means from now that you got it all mixed up together, how much do you have to separate from everything as trumas meiser? 10. Here you don't have to separate anything. You take out 10. You say that in this mixture, there is 10, wherever the table is, one of it is my edition with another 9. Wherever the meiser is, there's going to be 9. Now, if you take out 10, you have nothing to worry about. Because tevel could become my sedition. My sedition could become trumas meiser. So that was the only case because of that ratio where we said 10% going down. That's what we left off. But otherwise, in all the other cases of the Mishnah, we have a problem where there's going to be a loss. That is where we left off. Now, the Gemara is going to give us a couple of statements over here. The main statement will be that if the cases of the ratio of the Mishnah would not have been with Tevel Gamur that already had Truma Gedolah separated, everything in the Mishnah had Truma Gedolah separated. If the Mishnah would be speaking about a case, same cases, where the issue is the Mai with Chulin, the Mai with Mai Serishon, not Tevel, the Mai, the Machloikis, Tanoim, maybe there's a solution where you would never have a loss. That will be the first topic of today. Second topic of today, which will conclude Halacha Zayin, will be that in the Mishnah we had 2 cases, the second case and the fourth case. I'll repeat it when we get there, where there was a mixture of Meiser and Tevel. Either the amount of Meiser there was either majority Tevel or equal. The Mishnah never spoke a case where there's a mixture of Meiser and Tevel, where there was a majority Meiser. And we will see how that will make a difference. Don't worry, we're going to go through that. And the Gemara is going to give you 2 such mixtures to clarify the formula. Then you'll have the formula. That will end Halacha Zayin. The final Mishnah, just a quick words of introduction. It's almost good to begin Mesechtas Kalayim with the final Mishnah. And again, we're going to need the pictures for people that have an art scroll or other Sfarim. It's going to be very helpful. And that will be like this. A person has a wine cellar. That will be the case of the Mishnah. In it, they have 100 barrels of wine, from which not Meiser Rishon nor Meiser Sheni was separated. It's always the same thing. Truma Gedolah is separated all the way in the beginning. Separated Truma Gedolah. Now you have to take Meiser Rishon and Meiser Sheni. And I'm going with the same logic, David, that Meiser Rishon is only a designation. I don't have to give it to the Levi. I can give him its value. The only thing that Begashmi is, and the same thing Meiser Sheni. Meiser Sheni, you're merchalal on money. You could. What you have to actually remove is Trumas Meiser. But you can never go Tevel Trumas Meiser. You have to first designate Meiser Rishon, and from the Meiser Rishon, you remove Trumas Meiser. So what happens, there's going to be 5 cases in the Mishnah in which a person declared where the Meiser Rishon is. And that person is not clear what was his intent. Just as an example, the Meiser Rishon, if a person had 100 barrels, let's say they're organized rows of 10, so you have 10 rows vertically, 10 rows horizontally, and he says the outermost row is a Meiser Rishon, just as an example. Now, there are 4 outermost rows, right? Top going right to left, right going top to bottom. You don't know which row, in the case where we don't remember which row he meant. He doesn't remember, or he made a statement and he went away. You can only remove Trumas Meiser from the Meiserishan. What do you do in such a case? You can't say remove one from any outer row. Maybe that was not the outer row. I'm giving you just the first of the 5 cases, and that will be the 5 cases we'll have in the Mishnah. And God willing, we'll just learn the Mishnah, and we'll begin with the Gemara, the last daf tomorrow. Okay.
Is it okay just to recap? The Mai means nothing was taken except
the Mai, the opposite. The Mai means that biblically, it's chulin. Biblically, rabbinically, we're chayish that the owner did not properly take off everything. Vada, he took off Truma Gedoyla. What you have to end up doing is you have to designate Meiserishan. From it, give Trumas Meiser. The Meiserishan, you don't even have to give its value to the Levi. And you have to designate Meiser Sheni, either take it to Yerushalmi or be Mechal on Mois. So it's amazing. So the case of our Mishnah, Avremel, where you have to separate Meiserishan, Meiser Sheni, and the case of the Mai, in actuality, is the same. Because we are applying our Mishnah that you're not giving anything to the Levi, you're giving him the value. By the Mai, you don't have to give the value. The big nafkamina between the Mai and Tevel is that by Tevel, I'll say it right now, by Tevel, you're not allowed to separate the Trumas Umaisras out of order. Like we learned, you're violating an Asay, you're violating a Lav. Parshas Mishpatim, look Chumash Rashi over there. You have to give things in order. By the Mai, we learned in the beginning of the Masechta, you can give things out of order. And that will be perhaps a solution, but let's go inside. Says the Gemara that Rabbi Omar, that you should know that again. I just gave. We said in the words of introduction, the first case of the Mishnah, where you had 100 tevel and you have 100 chulin, and as we explained already, what you need to do. Okay, you make it 101 and 99. All of that will ultimately result in a loss. Says Rabbi Bo that there is a machloikas tanoim. Who are tanoim? Rabbi. This Rabbi Stoi, but Rabbi Yanai obviously is a tana. Regarding Chad Amar, now let me just say the way some learn the Gemara, that if the mixture would not be 100 tevel and 100 chulin, if the mixture would be 100 demai and 100 chulin, you have to add that 100 demai. Now, you would say, David, who cares? The Mai has to have from it removed Trumas Meiser anyway. And l'chayda, you have the same issue. What's the same issue? That you can't make chulin into Meiserishan, into Trumas Meiser. You can only separate it from the Demai. So again, what are you going to do? If you take one in your hand, you can't say this is Trumas Meiser to give it away. Why not? Because maybe this one is from the chulin. The only way to guarantee that you have at least one of the Mai would again be to make 101 and 99. Because in 101, even if the 100 is chulin, one is the Mai. Says the Gemara, you might not have to do that. Chad Amar, oisa sheni l'makam achar. This is a gavaldik statement. Okay, what you have to do is declare all of the Demai, listen to my words, Ma'aser Sheni. How can you declare all the Demai of Ma'aser Sheni? Obviously, we're speaking about someone who isn't like us, that they go to the supermarket and the only fruit they have is the fruit that they have. We're speaking about someone who, through the season, they all grew stuff. They're going to have a lot of fruits that will have to be tied. I am allowed to take a whole pile of fruit and say that whatever I'll need for Ma'aser Sheni, the Ma'aser Sheni is here. And it will exempt a lot of other produce from Ma'aser Sheni. We already spoke about the ratios that it won't be 10%. It's going to be 11.1. We're not going to repeat it. It doesn't matter. You can do that. What would be the benefit of doing it? Now, this is the chab. Let me ask you a simple question. I'm just reviewing halachas that we had before in the Masech. You're beginning, let's say, with Truma Gedoylo David. It means other than Bikurim, you remove nothing. When you give the 2% to the coin, does the coin have to remove from it Meiserishan and Trumas Meiser and Meiser Sheni? No. The seder of Trumas and Meiseris is that whatever the Hashem, whatever the Eibishter says has to be given first, will be exempted from the later Meiseris. Only the later Meiseris are mechoiv on the earlier ones. By Tevel, anything that has to be tied midoraisa, we just said, since there is a lav to go out of the order, even if someone went out of the order, means if a person gave Ma'aser Sheni before Ma'aser Rishon, From the Meiser Sheni, you have to remove the Meiser Rishon. But by the Mai, according to one of these two Tanoim, we don't know whether it's Rebbe or Rabbi Stoy. Since by the Mai you are allowed to go out of the order, if you were to designate Meiser Sheni before Meiser Rishon, it completely exempts the Meiser Sheni from needing to have Meiser Rishon removed from it. B'meila, Trumas Meiser removed from it. So if the goal will be, in the cases of the Mishnah, to have the happy ending that we had in the fourth case, which is the Balabas, even though things got mixed, did not lose anything. If the May of Tevel would be not Tevel Doiraisa, but Tevel Derabanan, which is the Mai, then the solution would be declare you have a mixture of 200 figs. Say, I don't know which one is which, but the 100 figs that are here, that are the Mai, all of it is Meiser Sheni. Now that would mean you'll have to take all of it to Yerushalmi, 200 figs, because you don't know, doesn't matter, but at least you're not losing any money. Anyways, you have to remove over the season a lot of Meiser Sheni.
He doesn't have to bring it. He could exchange the Meiser Sheni.
Thank you, Danny. Or he doesn't even have to bring it. Yes, correct. I want to say that when you exchange it, you have to add a choimish. But we're speaking about someone that anyways would end up designating that quantity. Let's read it inside. And by doing so, once something that really should have had Meiser Rishon Trumas Meiser removed from it, if you give first Meiser Sheni, if you're going to subscribe to the opinion that we don't say the Chazal is Kol HaKoidem es Chaveiroi Mischayev Boy. Kol HaKoidem es Chaveiroi Mischayev Boy, which means that if I separate David Meiser Sheni without first doing Meiser Rishon, tough luck. Since Meiser Rishon was supposed to come first, from the Meiser Sheni you have to remove the part that would have been Meiser Rishon. But by the Mai, it doesn't matter. You can go out of order to the point that whichever one came first, just like Meiser Rishon. Do you remove Meiser Sheni from Meiser Rishon? Or you don't. When you give the Levi Meiser Rishon, he doesn't have to worry about Meiser Sheni. This kind of holds that since by the Mai you are allowed to go any way you want, make it all into Meiser Sheni. However, that ayin above, but V'chadna Amar, the other Tana holds that no, that even if you're going to oisa kol yisheni l'makam achad, even if you're going to do that, that's the way you're going to limshad. Anyways, you're stuck. That umafrish olav rishon l'makam achad, you'll be chayev to remove Meiser Rishon. Okay. In other words, you don't cancel the earlier obligations, even though you were allowed to go out of order, and you'll have to designate Meiser Rishon, and therefore Trumas Meiser. Now, by the way, when he says you designate it from another source, I just want to repeat before we go into the last little shtickle, that which we spoke out when we began the Mishnah on Daf Ayin Daled. The whole issue of the Mishnah is only because this guy doesn't have someplace else from where to remove the Meiser Rishon and Trumas Meiser. Because if you were to have that option, you'll lose nothing. We keep on saying that. It was if I have a pile here, I don't know what is what, but I know the first case, 100 is Tevel. If I were to have other Tevel, that would be a solution, B'chlal. I would say that I'm removing from what I know is Tevel, first, 11.1. The Meiser Rishon for the 100, that's it. And from it, the Trumas Meiser. The whole issue of the Mishnah is that he doesn't have the Makkah Machet. I'm just explaining why the Charno Amar, that making it sheni, even though you are allowed to go out of the order by the mind, but it doesn't cancel out the earlier obligation. That means Meiser Sheni has to have Meiser Rishon removed from it, and the only way not to lose anything is by removing it from Mamakam Achad. And if you don't have the Mamakam Achad, then you'll have to do the formula of the Mishnah. In the first case, 101, 99. You'll owe the Levi 9, you'll owe him 9. You can give it from the 99, you can go out of pocket. From the 101, a non-coin cannot have any one of the 101. Sell it to the coin. He only pays for 100. The loss is that, not that you gave 101 and you charged for 100. Big deal. That's one. Is that the whole 100 you only sold for the cheaper price of Truma. Okay. Now, like we mentioned, that the Mishnah gave two cases where there was a mixture of Tevel and Meiser. In the cases of the Mishnah, the second case and the fourth case, either it's Roif Tevel, that was the great fourth case. What was the fourth case? Meya Tevel Tisha Meiser, or it was equal. The Mishnah never gave a case where you have a mixture, Chevra. We're talking about Tevel and Meiser, guys. Tevel and Meiser. Just understand that from Meiser, you have to give 10%. When you spoke about 111, you remember the one, because if I have 100 Meiser Rishon, 10 of them has to be Trumas Meiser. What's going to happen if you have a mixture, but the majority is Meiser? You will also have to divide the group into two. There won't be an option. But the numbers in our Mishnah spoke about a 101, 111. It's going to be a whole different type of number. The logic will be the same, but the Gemara is going to give you two cases for us to have the clarity of what will be the formula. Okay, so here we go. Case number one. Man nan kaim. What would be the halacha in the following? That's a lashon of the Gemara in Yerushalmi, and it's a whole different way of signaling. And he's quoting a brayso. In the Bible, they would just quote the brayso. Tana Rabbanan. Here the Gemara is saying, like, what would we do? Meaning, now we understand what he means. What would we do if there is a mixture and the roiv is meiser? So he says, I'll tell you what we'll do. Look at the brayso, and now goes the brayso. So many different gersois, and that obviously changes everything. Min hakotza, el hakotza. We're going to go with the brackets. Meya meiser, roiv meiser, and 90 tevel. Guys, let's do this by heart. David, you can do this. When you have 100 meiser, how much from it will end up going as trumas meiser? 10. When you have 90 tevel, how much will be trumas meiser?
0.9.
0.9, thank you. So just to make it clear, from this mixture, you're going to end up giving 10.9 to a coin. Why can you not, just the same thing, why can you not just remove from the mixture 10.9? Tell you the answer. Because you only have 90 tevel. 90 tevel, how much of it could become my sedation? 9. If I remove 10.9, if they were all from the tevel, can't do that. That's the same. In other words, if the 10.9, if the 10 was from the meiser, 10 meiser can become too much, not more. If 9 came from the tevel, at least that can become meiser edition, and then I can make this meiser edition too much meiser for the other chiyuv. But if all the 10.9 was from the tevel, I can't make that into Trumas Meiser because 90 tevel only allows for 9 Meiser edition. Only Meiser edition can become Trumas Meiser. Just the same. That's why when you have this mixture, you're trapped. So now you make it into two groups. So what will be this? What will be the number? What will be the number of the group? Says the Braisa, the number will be 91.9. And I'll explain why. Why Chazal spoke that way? I'm sure there's a reason. I'm sure we do much worse, not worse. That's the right way of speaking it out. Anyways, 92 minus a tenth, 91.9. You have to make that into one group. What do you accomplish when you make that into one group? When you took 90, what's the worst case scenario? That the 90 is all tevel. No, the 90, okay, fine. How much more do you have to remove? Okay, 90 tevel can produce how much meiser rishon? 9.
Right.
What are you missing? What did we say? What will be the total? 1.9. So that's the whole same concept. So you remove 90 plus 1.9. So even in the worst case scenario, from it, the 10.9 is going to work. Now you're going to end up with the same problem. Stumped. In other words, you're still going to lose because the other part is good. The 91.9, from it, you sell it to a kohen, but you cannot charge him for the 10.9, and the rest you have to sell the cheaper price of Truma. Same thing. Next case. What happens if you have 100 meiser and 80 tevel? Here again, 80 tevel can produce the max. Oh, it's from, okay, first, how much do you have to give? Let me go back. When you have David, you have 100 meiser and you have 80 tevel. You have a total of 180. Yes. No. We're giving, but the commonality between these two is the roiv is meiser. You have 100 meiser. From the 100 meiser, how much would you end up giving? 10. From the 80 tevel, how much will become trumas meiser? 10.8. No, it's if not for the mixture, a coin would have walked away with 10.8. What is my problem? Just remove 10.8. I can't do that again. My problem is the tevel is the biggest problem, because in other words, the 100 meiser allows me nothing. Nothing allows me the 10.8, but at least from the meiser I get a bigger number. From 100 meiser I get 10. The worst number, the most limiting, is the tevel. The tevel only allows me to give 8. So, and how much do I have to give? 10.8. How much is missing? The worst case scenario, 2.8, 82.8. You got it. So noitel, the way the Chazal say it, not 82.8, 83 minus 2/10. Noitel shmoinim v'shalosh chaser shnei yisurim, and now from it, you tell the kohen that 10.8 bechinam, and the rest you paid the mei hazoil. The other side is completely salvaged. And any other formula, Lefi Cheshvan means use this formula.
Sorry.
1 second. You have to physically separate into two piles, like we had in the Mishnah. And the solution, you're minimizing the loss as much as possible. The worst case scenario, David, would be to have a mixture in which we have no idea where is what, and all of it will have to be sold to the kohen. We're trying to prevent that. We're trying to.
Somebody didn't know these halachas, like that. They go to a rabbi and they ask him that's
if someone doesn't know the halachas, he would not even know it's a shayla. That would be the mistake.
Right.
Okay, Danny, what were you saying?
Yeah, I'm just struggling on the 2.8 again. So if you have 180, you have 10 of the from the 100 that need to be trumas meiser.
Very good.
And then you have 0.8 from the 80 that needs to be trumas meiser. So
Yeah.
where are we getting to 2.8?
So like this, Danny. When everything is mixed together, when I would have removed from the mixture, right, 10.8. What's the problem? The problem is like this: is that if I removed it all from the meiser, what is my problem, Danny? From all of meiser, how much can I remove from the meiser?
Only 10.
Only 10. If I would remove it all from the tevel, how much can I remove from the tevel?
1.8.
No.
Only 0.8.
No, 8.
Oh no. Oh, 8.
Let me
8.
tell you
That
why.
will be truma. That
Because
will be meiser.
if I were to have 80 tevel and I designate out of it 10% as my sedition, once I have my sedition and I have on the side something else that's chayiv to be truma meiser, I can take the my sedition and say that this, all of it will become trumas meiser for this and for that. The only problem is the more limiting is that from the 80 of tevel, the most I can end up as trumas meiser is the highest number of meiser ishain, which is 8.
8.
That's the step. So if I got tevel, if I got meiser, even better. But if I got tevel, was when I remake a pekel of 82.8. The worst case scenario, the other way is better, is that the whole 80 tevel is in there. Say that. The whole 80 tevel is in there. It already allows me for 8. All I'm missing is 2.8.
And let's say,
Danny, 2.8 can come from 100 meiser easy. Don't forget, 100 meiser really can give me 10, which is a lot more than 2.8. I can make that exchange. Okay, let's go. Let's leave it like this. Gaval. The final Mishnah. Don't get intimidated. Let me word it like this. This Mishnah is a lot easier than Halacha Zayin. Even without pictures, and of course, if you have pictures. The Mishnah is speaking about a case, again, you have a wine cellar, you have 100 barrels, that will be always the case. And we're going to go with the way we are learning, Roiv Rishonim, that this Perek is speaking about Tevel Midoy Raisa, that already had Truma Gedoyla removed from it, because Truma Gedoyla in actuality was removed the earliest time possible. Can't move the Goyden without removing Truma Gedoyla. The issue is Meiser Ish and Meiser Sheni. Both of them is easy to resolve when there's a suffix because it's really a financial issue. The real issue is Trumas Meiser. And always coming from the same Nakuda, you can only remove Trumas Meiser from Meiser Rishon. You can't go from Tevel into Trumas Meiser. You have to identify the Meiser Rishon, and from it, the Meiser Rishon becomes the Trumas Meiser. So case number one,
Once you designate it, can it be switched or not?
once you designated Meiser Rishon, the 9 could be switched, not the 1. The Trumas Meiser has to be from it. The other 9 could be exchanged. Very good. That's the premise of the previous Mishnah as well. So here we go. How much of it, David, will become Trumas Meiser? 1. No, normally 10 will become Meiser Rishon. Any 10 you want, you're the owner, and 1 becomes Trumas Meiser. Problem is Va'amar, the owner, the Balabas said, Shura hachitzoina achas Meiser. Shura hachitzoina. One of the outer rows. Now you have a row on the top, you have a row on the side. How many? Who knows? What's the total number of the all of the outer barrels?
38.
36.
What?
Not that I know math. I just learned it yesterday. 36, because don't forget, when you take up a whole row, and you take up a whole row, which is 10, then in between you only have 8. 8 and 8 is 16. So it's not 40, because you're doubling over. You don't double dip. There is 36 barrels on the outer perimeter. Now this guy said, now from the 36 he's giving 10. You just don't know which 10.
Well, why is it an issue? Let me read this.
You can't. I want to take a step back. A person can be shoyal neder for trumas or meises. That would be a solution that we're not mentioning. But the guy doesn't want to get a beis din and he doesn't want to undo it. I'll tell you better. A guy made a declaration. He went away. He went away. The kids cannot do it. The kids know that either he didn't tell us, the father, or we forgot. I don't know which outer one. So which one? It has to be 1. Now, if I'm going to give 1 from the tevel, that's the point. You can't go tevel to Trumas Meiser. Since only 1 has to go to the kohen, let me just take any outer barrel. It doesn't work that way. I'm mechuyev to take the 1 from the outer rows.
Out of the 10 by 10, which is 100, he wants to take out 10.
Not he wants. I have to. You say 10 is my sedition.
Designated as my street.
He said that my sedition is the outermost row.
Yeah. So one of those 4.
One of those 4 is my sedition, and therefore the Trumas Meiser, very good, has to come from one of those rows.
Right.
Now, without learning the Mishnah, to cover all your bases, and I'm audits would say, without knowing, he would say, well, you have to take 4 barrels. Let's go with the previous Mishnah. You have to take 1 barrel from each of the outer rows, and sell it to a kohen. Kohen only has to pay for 3. So at least you're not going to have to give, but the other 3 you're gonna lose, because when you sell something that only a kohen can consume, misafik, it's cheaper. The Mishnah is machadish. You don't need to lose 4. You only have to separate 2, because if you take the 2 perpendicular opposite corners, ba'alachsoin, it's mamish like we had by Kachin, Zidikas Dam ala Mizbeach, by Shtaim Shein Arba, because if you take the upper right and the bottom left, or the upper left and the bottom right, so then you for sure, David, if you look at the picture, you got 1. You have to take both. Every single column was covered, because the top left is both one of the top horizontal, and it's the left vertical. So when you take 2, you covered all of the 4 bases. So that's the noitel shtei chaviyos.
And you're giving extra Trumas Meiser, but that's okay.
Very good, Danny. So I'm taking these 2 barrels and I'm selling them to a kohen. The kohen is only paying for 1. I'm not giving extra, but because of my confusion, or because of my father's confusion, I'm going to lose some money. But we're minimizing my loss, like we had on the previous mission. Instead of me having to take 4 barrels and selling them to a kohen, him paying for 3. That means that 3 barrels I'll sell bizoil. I only have to sell 1 bizoil. I take 2 barrels, one of them I owe, and the other one I'm getting some money for. The Mishnah is minimizing the loss. The Eina Yodua, not the Eina Yodeya. The Eina Yodua means that's the pshat of Remo, that the Balabas, it's not here. We don't know which one it was, just as a mashal. So case number one, noitel shtei chaviyos, but which two chaviyos Allah sign here in the Yerushalmi, even in the Mishnah, they took out the olives. See the way they chazed the Torah Shabbat Pei, Lashon HaKodesh, loich sign, perpendicular, diagonal, opposite each other's. You have the picture, you can see it, and you sell both for the price of one. Problem is that the one is a cheaper price. Case number two. Chatzi shura hachitzoina achas ma'aser. Similar, but different. Here we have a person who is only resolving half of the wine cellar. You have 100 barrels, David. If a guy is saying, I'm resolving 50 by designating 5 barrels as my sedition, what will happen with the other 50 come tomorrow? The Mishnah is not talking about that. The case is that it's the same concept, but different numbers.
Once you do that, you exempt half of your value.
Once I exempt half. Now, we'll get to that to wait tomorrow. In other words, we're not clarified yet. What does that mean? If a person is only designating that, but he did the same thing. He said, now for 50, David, how many barrels do I have to give? 5. It can be anywhere. He said, I'm giving a half of a outer column. How many halves do you have? 8. From every barrel, how much do you have to give? As Trumas Meiser? Half. In other words, what if I would be giving Trumas Meiser for the whole pekel? What would I end up giving? 1 barrel. If I'm only speaking about 50, what will be the Trumas Meiser? Half a barrel. Problem is that this half a barrel, have a suffix, has to be coming from one of 8 groups. Because I said Chatzi, Shura, Achaz, Hachitzoina Achaz. The 8 groups is that in every outer line, I'm dividing it into half.
Oh, okay.
I know there's an overlap, but you can't divide it into half. It's 6 and 4. No, we don't look at it that way. I don't know from which half. Either the top, let's say the top horizontal to the right, the top to the left. Every one gives me a suffix of 2. So again, without learning the Mishnah, you would say, Oy Gavalt. So now this person will have to take a half from each of the 8, sell it to a coin. How much is half of a David? 4. Sell 4 for a coin, only charge for 3.5, but he'll lose 3.5. We don't do that. The Mishnah again will minimize the loss. Same logic. What are we going to do? Same logic. Take, same thing, every corner is covering how many half a rows? 2 half a rows. So instead of you dealing with 8, you're only dealing with 4. Now there's still a loss there because from the 4.
Why would you only want to exempt half?
I don't know. That's the case of the Mishnah.
It doesn't make financial sense.
Each of these barrels belong. One second, just to make it clear, David. When I'm taking out a barrel from the corners, just how much of the barrel is how much of the barrel am I giving from each of these 4?
Half a barrel.
Thank you. So 4 barrels is really 2 barrels. I'm selling 2 barrels and I'm charging for 1.5. Instead of having to sell 4 barrels.
5 barrels.
Huh?
Half a row is 5 barrels, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. But if I take all of the 4 corners,
that is 0.5 is what we need to do.
at the end will never change. If I'm only being the sock and 50, I have to end up giving half a barrel. Question is, from which one? So if I already identified 4 barrels that are covering all of the 8 halves, at least I minimize my loss. Okay. Next case.
So the client's gonna get half a barrel for free.
Goyer will get half a barrel for free.
3.5.
And very good. And he'll have to pay for 1.5.
Not 3.5.
No, he'll have to pay for because he's getting a total of 2 barrels.
They're giving half of all.
Shkoyach, very good. And in other words, the owner only lost 1.5 barrels. Not lost. He's getting a cheaper number, but he's getting a cheaper number. He's losing the wine. We have with us Alex today. It's all about wine. Shura achas meiser. Let's go next case. Now it's going to get funner. Because here, what happened in the third case that we didn't have until now? He never mentioned the word chitzayna. He didn't say outer. David, if I say one row, you know what? How many rows are there? How many rows are there? No.
There's 20 rows.
There are 20 rows, not 10 rows, because a row can be horizontal, a row can be vertical. So if I have 20 rows, and from one of those 20 rows, I have to give one. So what do I have to do? I have to give 20 to the kohen and charge for 19. That's a huge loss. So he says, no. Take the entire perpendicular row. Look at the picture, Kevin. Noitel shura achas loichsan.
Which one are we in? Diagram here?
Third case, E.
Okay.
Because what's happening over here is that every single barrel is covering a row, no matter which way you're going. I lost nothing. And any one of these I give to the kohen. Now, but
You give all 10 to the kohen.
no.
Yeah.
Shura achas meiser, because
You give all 10.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you have to give all 10 to the kohen because we don't know which row. But instead of me having to sell him 20, instead of me losing 19, I'm losing 9.
Why can't you just pick 10 from the bottom?
Because I cannot, because I can only give Trumas Meiser from what was my sedition. That's the whole problem the whole time, like we had in the previous mission. You never go from Tevel to Trumas Meiser. Bite it. Fourth case is like the third case, that instead of him saying, I'm giving my sedition for the ganze pekel, I'm giving half a row for 50 barrels. Which half a row? He didn't clarify. Chatzi shura achas meiser. Same thing. So how many? If you have 20 rows, how many halves do you have? 40. Just as simple. So do I have to give from 40 barrels a half? No. Diagram F to see it. Same idea. Instead of you going from 40, you only have to go from 20. All of why?
I didn't understand anything you just said.
It's the same case, but he gave a half instead of a whole.
Yes, same thing.
So why not give the same diagonal half of each?
Because
Give half of 10.
Because when it comes to half,
And 5 will be
in order to cover both halves, you have to make an X. Because you're giving a half from any. How many rows do you have? We said 40. How many half rows do you have? 40.
20 rows.
No. 1 second, double. You have 20 rows. Why do you have 20 rows? Because if you're looking, you can count it horizontal or vertical. So when you have this box of 10 by 10, you have, perhaps when he said a row, it could have been milamai lamata or from right to left. There's 20 options. Half, 40 options. Very good. And the final case, noitel chavis achas meiser. He says 1 barrel is designated as my sedition. How much is he being misakin? This genius? Only 10. But got a problem. He designated 1 barrel as my sedition for 10. What's going to be the status of the other 90? We'll learn tomorrow. What's going to be the status of the other 50? We'll learn tomorrow. But now you got a problem, because since any one of the barrels could be the my sedition barrel, from which you have to give 10% to the kohen. So do you have to give 10% from the whole 100 barrels to a kohen? No. Actually, yeah. Here's the worst thing. Here you have to give.
It's only 10 barrels.
To be masakin, 10.
10 barrels, you don't get hit right.
Because how much were you masakin? Only 10. No, it's here the worst thing, because here you end up with 90 that you still have to remove from it, my sedition and trumas mais.
Take up part of the barrel.
You have to do that. Very good. But 1 second. No. 1 second. How much do you charge, David? Very good. How much do you charge? Rabbi Chen, you charge for 9.9 tenths.
Why do you charge for anything?
No.
Oh, it's my forgot.
Very good. Okay.
So 9 barrels, you basically charge, quarter one is